Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. I have another channel on astrology and a Facebook page on which I wrote prophetic writings for years. I invite you to read those prophetic writings. In this video, before I start the video, God guided me to speak again and to remind everyone that there are a number of doppelgangers who aim to copy me and to impersonate me, on one hand towards me in order to carry on attacks and to steal my rights and to become me, I guess. And on the other hand, in order to engage with others using my image and my name. So God is guiding me to keep reminding people about this so they will protect and they will not engage with anyone who is using my identity and my image in order to engage with them. Of course, because they have negative intentions, they have harmful intentions, obviously, to feed on people and to use my image and my work. They steal my intellectual property. They stole actually material goods from me. So everything will fall into place. And of course, I'm fighting this. As I advise everyone to do in their own bondage breaking. But God is guiding me to remind everyone about this. Personally, I do not agree so much with the idea of keep giving them attention, because I just think they're very stupid, and obviously they cannot achieve what they want. But God insists on this, and God showed me it's important. As long it's normal that you do not want to engage with them and you don't want to give them attention, but at the same time, it is important to warn people and to clarify that this is happening, to acknowledge it that this is happening, so people will be aware, because they will use my work in order to engage with others. And of course, I don't want people to be harmed by them. Okay, now that we've done this, let's come back to our activity, talking about spiritual fighting. And in this video today has guided me, God guided me to speak about one specific topic which I constantly research, obviously, and this is related to the forces which are behind these stupid individuals who are doing all these sacrifice rituals and all these doppelgangers and all this 3D type of activity. And because I believe this is actually the focus, they are actually, they are powerless people, individuals. I wouldn't even call them people, because many of them lack soul. They already lack soul. They lost their souls. So literally, they are just not people. But so I don't believe that we have to give them attention, but it's important to study the forces which work through them, because to me, this is the war that we are leading, actually, against those forces. They're just insignificant to me, literally. But coming back to the topic of today, there's a topic related to the forces being used, or the forces which are using these creepy, stupid individuals. And I've made a video before in which I spoke about a specific type of low-level entity which has been elevated by these idiots, and through worshipping and ritualic practices and through sacrifice rituals on us. And that force is related to insects and viruses and all of these low-level entities. Now, today I will speak about a different force on a different level, also a low-level entity which they elevated through worshipping and through sacrifice rituals. And this basically is a force which is feeding on death, literally is feeding on the process of dying. Actually, God uses the words, it feeds on agony of the soul. Yeah. So there's a lot of attacks usually when an individual or an animal dies. There's a lot of attacks on that individual in 3D material existence physically, but also spiritually speaking. There are a lot of spirits and a lot of dark entities which are being sent upon that individual. And literally, energetically, you can see the soul being tortured. And at some point, God lifts up the soul, takes the soul, basically, because it's just too much pain. So in order to protect the DNA, God takes the soul when God decides that it's divine timing to leave for different kind of reasons. Sometimes it's because that in soul achieved purpose in bondage breaking or exposing or whatever that soul had an assignment to do. Or sometimes it's simply because the circumstances in 3D are in a place where basically that soul cannot achieve much, and the type of trauma and pain created literally is too much. It affects too much the DNA, and it stands more to lose than to gain. So then that happens, literally. Okay, so and this force which is feeding on death, and literally God has shown to me that throughout history, this is the force which stands behind all the wars in the world. Those forces are usually at a culmination point when wars start. And the wars are being started in order to feed those forces. Because this is why they kill a lot of people, in order to feed those forces. Because at that point, the force reaches a culmination point and is starving and is really aggressive. Yeah. So it's also a sort of sacrifice ritual done on a grander scale, though. And this usually happens when in bondage creation and bondage breaking, a certain point it's reached of rolling back the force, or basically the force comes to collect whatever was promised by these creepy individuals during their sacrifice rituals. So during a specific end of cycles, karmic cycles, or situational karmic cycles. Literally, you can, I researched, and you can identify, and God has shown to me in my research, how a bondage creation takes power unless it's broken, and then basically it's multiplied. It's multiplied to a degree where those forces reach tremendous power, and literally they come to collect what they were promised. So then this is when circumstances like wars, world wars, or pandemics, or different kind of destruction situations are created, including terrorist activities. Much of it is orchestrated and it's agreed upon, including, for example, God has shown me 9/11 in the United States. It was literally agreed upon certain leaders, including American leaders, who literally had to feed these forces because they made sacrifice rituals on different individuals they couldn't deliver, and it was the time for pay. And they create this kind of circumstances as a sacrifice ritual in order to feed those forces so they can receive whatever they request. And these forces feed on death, as I said. And the type of entity being used for this is the owl, the bird, the owl. The bird, and this is a low-level entity which feeds on brain level on a constant basis. It feeds on brain level, and it feeds on death. Now, you see how they switch the narrative in 3D, and they present the owl as being a bird of intelligence. But in reality, God has shown to me it's not a bird of intelligence, it's a bird which is feeding on brain level. So all the mind level attacks are carried out through this. Namely, there are convents, and each convent has different type of entities which they worship, and from which they request rewards and help in spiritual fighting, in sending this upon us. And much the same, like the viruses and the insects are being used in order to create diseases, bodily diseases, and to weaken your immune system, and so on. Then on the reverse, on the flip side, you have the owl, which is being used for mind level attacks. Usually, God has shown to me those convents who actually worship and use the owl as a bird, as a symbol, and as a low-level dark entity, are those who are actually at the top tier of leadership, those focused on intellectual and on brain level activity. So this is basically sort of speak a higher level type of force used by individuals who are more concerned with intellectual property and with creation of intellectual property, or stealing intellectual property as well. Yeah. It's being used particularly by Scientology. So this is a force which is being used particularly by Scientology, and is associated with them and is worshipped by them, from all the religious cults. Now, this is very important to understand in order to I don't know how to say, you have to have a higher level perspective over the spiritual fighting, because especially those who, of course, who came from the divine realm with a spiritual assignment in order to carry out spiritual fighting, now you come here with a totally different understanding what spiritual fighting means. But this is very important to understand, because in effect, these 3D individuals, these individuals who actually cling to 3D existence, is because on a 5D level, they are nobody. And they are nobody because of their own fault. And these are individuals, people, who choose not to invest in themselves, not to create for themselves, but instead they prefer to steal and to have the power of making rules, not to follow the rules, because astral is a space where rules exist, and this is not allowed. Whatever they do here, all this black magic, which essentially, as I explained, is not really black magic, it's much sorcery in different forms. All of these are entities which they worship in order to give them power, but they use spirit attack level and through necromancy, but also through sorcery. But it's important to understand, because somehow, really, this was also my first reaction when I started the spiritual fighting consciously. I was like, this is stupid shit. This is, I'm not lowering myself to this level. What the fuck you mean all of this crazy stuff which they do? But unfortunately, it's a big step. God always, when I manifest a lot of frustration with this silliness, because I find it silly, but it's really dramatic as an impact, because there are people who are killed. There are people who are enslaved. There are people who are being destroyed. There's a lot of harm being done through this. As silly as it might seem, and God always, when I express frustration with this, and I say, this is stupid, I'm not wasting time with stupid, and God always tells me, it is the foolish things of the world. You need to do the foolish things of the world to find the wisest. And this is the 3D type of spiritual fighting. I even have reservation in calling it spiritual fighting, honestly. But this is the reality of the 3D, and this is what we came here to fight, basically. This is why it's a lot of deception, because talking about light or dark equally, true legitimate force in astral will never use deception because it has power. When you have power, you don't need to deceive. You don't need to do all of these foolish things when you have power. When you have ranking, when you have power, you don't need to do this. They do this because they don't have power and they want to steal. This is why they do it. But it's important for us to all understand exactly what is behind all of their attacks, particularly because we do have power, but we need to understand what they are using and how we can counteract to put an end to it. Yeah, and we do need to keep in check our frustration in dealing with this stupid shit, really, which is stupid shit. But this is why we came here, because through this stupid shit, they succeed to do a lot of harm. So we need to put an end to it. Yeah. So this is important for everybody to understand. Now, again, we have these two big groups, basically, among them. The ones using the insects and the viruses and all of these pathogens, agent pathogens and all of these, which focus on disease, on bodily disease, which weakens literally your immune system. And through that, there's a lot that is being weakened because, first of all, it drains you of power. And also your aura is being infected and so on. So this is important. And the other one, which is a higher level than the insects, is the owl. Those who actually are worshipping the owl. Now, there's a connection between the two of them because normally the owl feeds on insects. So God has shown me that much of the sacrifice rituals which individuals and convents connected to insects are doing, they are doing these sacrifices in order, they're doing these sacrifices for those who are at a higher level, higher tier of leadership, worshipping the owl in order for them to be so-called protected. Literally, they feed those forces so those forces won't feed on them. This is what it actually comes down to. Yeah. So there's a connection. These two type of groups, they work together. So to give you an example, it's like you are talking about Masonry level, which is a higher level, and then the gang stalking group, which is working for the Masonry level, and they are creating on a mercenary type of contract different bondages and different mafia type of harassment, intimidation, bullying, bondages, and even killing in order to appease those who are from the higher tier level and to receive rewards from them. So there's a connection between these two groups. They're intertwined, and many of the individuals from the lower group go elevate through different criminal acts. They actually get to elevate and be recruited in the higher level tiers. And this is, for example, the hitmen that do the dirty job for the Masonry and for all of this are usually selected from the lower group. Individuals who have been proven loyalty in doing harm to others are usually being selected and promoted. So the two groups are intertwined. This is what I mean. And they work together, basically. So this is a further information which I provide from my research related to the forces which are being used in 3D for bondage creation, for attacks, and for blocking the spiritual paths. This is important, of course, for everybody who is actually doing research, doing investigation, working in spiritual realm. But also it is important in order to expose the reality. This already, by making these videos, God shows me that by this you already speak into existence, opening access to knowledge about this, because they block this. This is what they do. They actually, I spoke in previous videos about creating energetic capsules about specific topics in order to block access to that knowledge, so they will be protected, you know. And this usually has a big power when you're in a spiritual fighting, because if you don't know what is being done, you must understand the spiritual fighting. It's literally in 3D, particularly, is literally a psychological warfare. So the element, one of the most important elements in psychological warfare is not knowing. You not knowing what is going on, you know, because you don't know how to defend, you don't know how to counteract, and as this goes on, it's basically it tests your endurance, your resistance. This is part of the psychological warfare. And as times goes by and you still don't find an answer and you still don't know what to do, that brings in automatically a draining element, which gives you anxiety, depression, you know, it weakens you in different ways and forms. Yeah. So this is important. God has shown to me that when I speak this, this is why I'm making these videos. On one hand, because God says, even if nobody listens, it really doesn't matter, because because I bestowed power upon you of prophecy, then when you speak it in 3D, then you already open gates to knowledge for others. And God promised me, God said, I have my own boys who are working on this, but they need this information so they can go further with their investigation and with their and it helps them in order to make justice and divine will in 3D. So this is important for this, but also I really hope that it's important also for individuals, and I really truly hope that there will be a lot of individuals who will surprise God and will basically take it upon themselves to actually learn more and to create more ways to defend and to speak them out in order to teach others and help others to fight on their own. This is not necessarily part of the spiritual fighting or so, but it's one of the things that I care for. Namely, this is something that I do, and I hope others will do as well. Namely, that I try to surprise God, and I succeeded to surprise God many times. God is whispering to me, and you succeeded to surprise God in achieving much more than He established or hoped for from me. And I did. I know I did. I know I succeeded, and I explained to everyone, even if you're not one of the individuals to whom God was referring that is actually working on these matters professionally, you have the power to create who you are and to determine what role you have in your own spiritual fighting, but also in the spiritual fighting as at and large. I explained this in other videos, and I will say it again. When I started my spiritual fighting consciously, there was a surprise attack, and God was very upset because He said, when I sent you in 3D, I gave you a number of individuals who were supposed to guard you, to protect you, and they were supposed to carry out the spiritual fighting in order for you to be protected and to work with your gifts and provide information and guidance. And exactly the ones who were sent in order to protect you, they are the ones who actually fell, became fallen angels, and they are attacking you. For this reason, your fight is more difficult. You are in a bad situation because I gave them a lot of gifts in order to be able to protect you. And now they are using all those gifts to attack you. So God was very depressed. And as I explained in another video, I actually told both God and Jesus, I said, listen to me. I will not be a victim. You show me who's doing what. I will fight on my own. I understand that the plan was that they would be protecting me. I also understand that the reality is that they turned against me and they are attacking me. I will win this. I will win this. It's not only that I will fight it, I will win it. And I must tell you that initially my spiritual team was nervous about it. And because, of course, they all knew me and they knew how I think, and that I will not, I will consider this stupid and silly and insulting to lower myself to this type of stupid shit. But then they all gathered together. Initially, they were a little bit cautious and they didn't know what to do. And then we all consulted, and actually they said, okay, we adjust strategy. Let's work on this. And then God and Jesus and the Divine Realm came up with a strategy. And as I explained previously, they said, okay, in order for you to succeed alone, you need to get this and this and this and these abilities. You need to learn to work with these abilities, with these gifts, and you need to do this. So we started working, literally. But it was my decision. It was my decision. So I keep telling this to everyone, so you'll understand that we are living in 3D situations which are out of hand, and many of them are totally different than what was conceived as a strategy from the Divine Realm when we came into incarnation. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. You can be whatever you want. You can be whatever you believe to be. And believe me, although, of course, they took a lot of time, and God kept cautioning me, it's going to be very difficult. You're not going to like it. You're not going to do this. And I kept saying, I don't care. I don't care. I will win. I will win. And I am telling you, this is a psychological warfare. As long as you go the distance and you endure and you know that you get out of it and you will find a way to defeat it, you create that reality. You create that reality. And I swear to you, I promise to you, your team from Divine Realm and God Himself will do anything in order to help you. They will help you, and they will bring to you individuals, and you will bring to you gifts, and will teach you, will work with you directly to teach you how to work with those gifts, even if you were not supposed to have those gifts initially. They will find ways. God is saying flexibility. You must understand that as long as you have the determination and the belief that you can do this, then they will find a way to work with you. They will adapt to you. This is very important to understand, and this is also why I'm sharing part of my experience in spiritual fighting and everything that I believe it's useful and everything that God guides me to share, because I want individuals to know you can do it. Doesn't really matter. You will encounter, particularly in the beginning, situations in which you will not be as successful as you want. Okay, I will not say you will fail or you will, but some people also will fail. Basically, you must know 100% in your mind and in your heart, whatever mistake you make, the Divine Realm will help you get out of it. Even especially if you made a mistake because you didn't know, because you were tricked. The pure intention is very important. The determination is very important. Your belief in yourself and in your Divine Realm team and in your winning, this is what will create reality. I am telling you, this is really important for everybody to understand. And please Google and find books to read about psychological warfare. I promise you, you will understand much more about the 3D spiritual fighting, so-called, but mostly deception. It is very important. Also, I recommend you go and read the type of tortures that were carried out, and experiments carried out in prisons, particularly by Nazis and by communists, those of mind programming, you will find their information extremely useful to everything that is ongoing. You will understand that those were only experiments, and now they are using that on a massive scale on population. And understanding the psychological dimension in psychological warfare is extremely important. Of course, I was fortunate enough that I did military studies, so I already knew this when I started my conscious spiritual fighting. But even if you didn't go through that, it's internet, you can Google, you can find books, you can read about it, and it's enough to read a few definitions in order to understand that psychological warfare, it's much about your system of belief, and it's much about mind power. Mind power you created through you create it through your belief. So you can become whatever you want, and this is very important to understand. I insist on this because I want others to do the same and to surprise God. God has constantly told me that I surprised him because he didn't plan all of this for me when I came into incarnation, and he didn't expect that I will actually be so determined in all of this. And we already, I am very proud to say that me and my spiritual team from Divine Realm, we already achieved tremendous victory in many situations, and I broke a lot of bondages, not only on me but for my ancestors. So many situations which were left unfinished business by those who actually were killed, and they didn't succeed to finish bondage breaking, or even if they finished bondage breaking, then they left, and these scripts created fake narrative and lies about all of that. So I shed light, and I broke much of that, and I'm very proud to say that my spiritual team from Divine Realm helped me, and by choosing this path, I enlarged a lot my spiritual team from Divine Realm, because I took upon myself from God activations of embodiments which were not initially foreseen for me, but I did that in order to defeat certain attacks which were sent at me at the time. And again, of course, I had to cover my own spiritual fighting, and also the spiritual fighting which was supposed to be carried out by either my partner, twin flame, soulmate, whatever, but also by those who were supposed to protect me, to ensure the proper conditions for me to carry out my purpose here in 3D. The initial purpose. But then there are constant meetings in Divine Realm, the council, but also the karmic board meeting, and they work together with Akashic records, and they always constantly, minute by minute, are adjusting to the situation on the ground, and whatever you need, they will create for you. They will find ways for you to be able to counter-attack, defeat, and win whatever they sent your way. So don't cling too much on one identity or one circumstance or one purpose. This can shift, can change. I would advise strongly, be flexible yourself, but also be focused on creating who you want to become, and be determined in working with your spiritual team from Divine Realm, because they will adjust. This is very important. They will adjust, and they will create, as I said in another video, they will create for you different embodiments to help you to do timeline jumping when you need to leave a timeline, so you won't be stuck as soon as you achieved everything that was to be achieved in that timeline. And they will be flexible, and they will work with you as long as you have the determination and the faith in your spiritual team and in yourself. And I tell you many times, we came to certain situation where they would these scripts would create blockages for me, and every single time when we had the council meeting, every time I would say, no, I will win, I will win, let's find a way forward, I will win this. And I won a lot so far, and let me tell you something, I will still win. There's still much that I will do. Yeah. So I'm just sharing this part, and I strongly advise everyone to be flexible and to aim to surprise God and to become much more than you were foreseen initially at your incarnation. Now, going back to the topic to close up the video, again, in this video, I shared further knowledge about the forces which they use. Again, I emphasize all of these are lower level dark forces which are not meant to have the power to engage in spiritual fighting. They use this, infusing them, feeding them, to give them power, because the legitimate forces in astral realm do not engage with them. Do not engage with them because they are just rebels, and they literally refuse to respect the astral rules. In astral rules, I'll give you one more example and I close up because it's hard to upload if it's too long. But I'll give you an example just so you'll understand. One of the rules of the astral is that you do not approach anyone if that person doesn't give you permission. First, you don't do telepathy on people without asking them if they agree. This is illegal. You know, they do all of this sex magic, love bombing, and all of this is illegal. This is rape. All of this done in 3D, it's prison time. Equally in astral realm, this is illegal. These are spiritual rapes. And they put darkness on you so you don't see what they are doing. But this is illegal, and they are literally putting a lot of darkness on people in order to block their subconscious from reacting. And then they do all of this sex magic and love bombing and all of this shit. And then you wake up in the morning and you say, oh, I met an individual and I fell in love with him. No, you didn't fall in love, my dear. You were groomed on subconscious level with spiritual attacks illegally. Again, this done in 3D, it's illegal. They are doing exactly this on 5D, not on 5D, but on subconscious level. And this is illegal as well. And actually, I intend to spend a lot of time to make sure that proper legislation will be in place in order to be punished for all of this they're doing. But I gave you just one example, so you will see how wrong is what is going on here. The normal conduct in astral is that before engaging with you in astral in any type of communication or way, permission must be asked. And only if you give permission, they then are allowed to speak to you telepathically, to do whatever. Yeah. And they do this because they are not at your level to actually even ask permission. You must understand. They are not at the proper level to even ask permission for communication with you because of all the harm that they have done. You know, so because of this, they put a lot of darkness, they do a lot of sacrifice rituals, slander, and all of these lies about individuals to put darkness on them, to drag them down to their level in terms of energy and vibration, so they can actually bomb them with sex magic, love bombing, with all sorts of harassment and aggression in astral and so on. Yeah, this is just one example, so you will understand the distinction. Everything that they do is illegal, and you must actually understand that you have a lot to gain support in spiritual fighting if you stand up for the actual divine truth and divine rules, which are supposed to actually oversee the astral interaction. Yeah. Okay. So They do this in order to elevate these forces, all of these things, in order to elevate these forces at a higher level, to support them, in order to carry on all of these illegal things which they do. Because no force, be it in dark or in light, no legitimate force will support them. This is not really spiritual fighting what they're doing. What they are doing is completely criminal activity, illegal, basically. Yeah? Okay, I'm gonna stop here. Again, the initial focus of the video was about exposing a new type of force, new information about a different type of force. This is the owl, which is focusing on brain attacks. It actually fits on your crown chakra, on your brain, yeah, and pineal, everything that is actually related to the brain, and it feeds on death, yeah. And it works together with the forces which I have been exposing previously, namely the insects, viruses, and all of that, which all of these forces literally are just spirits, but are lower level spirits, which they elevate to a higher level through the sacrifices they do on us, by feeding them on us, in order to gain some sort of not only material advantages, but some sort of leadership positions, because it's illegal leadership. So that's why they do this. Okay, I'm gonna close up this video now so I can upload it faster. I know that all this information will help individuals which God has in mind. I also hope that this information will help other individuals who, much like me, will decide to be determined to surprise God in achieving great success in their spiritual fighting.